Hey everyone, welcome to this week's High Value Publishing Session. I'm Eric Schoenfeld, founding partner of Nearview Media, and I'm really excited today to have Michael Henry with Marfeel join us. We're going to talk through Marfeel as a platform and what it does and what benefit publishers can get out of it. So, Michael, how you doing?
Hey, good, Eric. Thanks for having me on the program.
Yeah, my pleasure. Before we dive in real quick, I wanted to just say, hey, if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to a podcast, make sure to go out to nearviewmedia.com, sign up for my email newsletters. We're going to do more of these kinds of technology demos along the way, along with a tons of digital media strategies for publishers. But today we're definitely focusing on Marfeel. This is a platform I got to know last year, and I've been actually very impressed with it. I kind of say, Michael, it's probably underselling it, but I look at Marfeel as Google Analytics on steroids. I'm sure I'm underselling it there, but let's dive on in. Let's take a look at the platform. I have several of my clients already using it, and I wouldn't bring you on if I didn't think it wouldn't be something other publishers could benefit from.
No, that's great, and we appreciate that partnership. I think we are an upgrade. I think from GA, especially for publishers, professional content creators, and that's who we're focused on. We're not trying to be this one size fits all analytic platform for brands and marketers inside consumer brands. We're really focused on content creators and sometimes high volume news creators, business publishers, magazine media companies, broadcasters, and other niche publishers. So we work across the spectrum, both big and small. But what's interesting about Marfeel is, we work across 5,000 publishers, and so I think we get a lot of requests for functionality and product features. But we also see across those publishers 40 billion monthly page views, and that helps us gives visibility into what's happening. So I think not only should you expect a great analytics platform that allows you to take action, and we'll get into what that means in a minute, but I also think you should think of us as an innovation partner and a sounding board that you could talk to, right? We have a lot of humans work at Marfeel. It's not like Google Analytics where you're going to get some support ticket. You can call me, you can call somebody here, you can talk to Eric, and you can get a sense of what's working, how are other publishers handling certain business problems or opportunities, especially in this kind of 2026 environment where AI is kind of reshaping discovery.
hmm hmm Yeah, well, I mean, I know you guys broke some interesting news with regarding Google Discover just a few weeks ago, so that's an example. But let's dive on into the platform and take a look.
Yeah, sure. Let me share my screen and minimize this. I'm going to show today a Spanish publisher. So apologies for those that don't are not Spanish lingual, but I think the system generated stuff here is all in English, and I think it'll make perfect sense as I kind of go through this. But this is the core Marfeel analytics view. It's called Compass, and this is our real-time mode. You'll see here on the top right, I'm in real time, but it's really easy for me to go back and look at yesterday's data, this week, last 30 days, or any real-time period, and then do comparisons of one time period versus another. And I won't get into super detail on some of these things, but if anyone that attends here wants a demo, wants a trial access, that can so totally be arranged by reaching out, through Eric or me here. But what we're looking at here is real-time data. So this is Friday at this time compared to the last 4 Fridays around this time, right? And what we're looking at here is you see these green little speedometers. Some are green, some are red. These are predictive analytics that give you a sense of what's working and what's not. So you'll see green is good. Our engagement time is up significantly today. That's great. And we're doing that despite having lower article production. So that's interesting. So we can kind of look into what's working. You'll see that our subscriptions are up significantly today. So we should look into that, and we can do that on this call. But basically what we're looking at here up top is a color-coded graph of real-time concurrence and where people are coming from. So search traffic, direct traffic to the site, people coming from social. And then there's this kind of others category, which I'll just sort of highlight as an example. I mentioned AI in my little opening statement there. AI is less than 1% of this particular news company's traffic. But what's interesting is it's measurable, right? I can click through to it and I can see I'm getting traffic from Gemini and ChatGPT and potentially others, right? So I'm able to kind of drill through all of that and see, see what's coming in.
I want to interject here real quick, if you don't mind, because I've been working with a couple of my clients on this. One of the things I do like about the way you are organizing traffic sources. I mean, obviously in Google Analytics, we can look at source medium and all of that. But Marfeel has done a pretty good job, I think, of organizing things. Like, for instance, if you get traffic in from Facebook, it comes from, 6 different sources. If you get traffic in from LinkedIn, it comes from a bunch of different sources. AI comes in from a bunch of different sources. And so you've kind of done all that. You're doing all that analysis of the traffic behind the scenes and organizing into meaningful channels for publishers is what I've found. I mean, even over here on the left, if we take a look at Google Discover, for example, that's something that you don't normally see in Google Analytics. You'd have to go into Google Search Console to see that kind of stuff. So I want to just throw that out there. That I like how you guys have organized this in terms of being able to truly see where traffic is coming from.
I think that's a great point, Eric. You'll see here, this is what's, of the concurrent, this is how many people are on the site right now. And these are the top performing articles in kind of the real-time view. If I wanted to filter that by what people coming in from Google Discover are reading, you'll see it's probably going to be a different list. And
That's
it is
sweet.
because these are featured, and picked up, if you will, by Google Discover, right? So this is the traffic coming from there. You'll see how fast and easy it is to do this. And I'll highlight that all of these KPIs, as we call them up here, are customizable.
Well, and they all update based upon the filters, right? So like you just click Google Discover and that's now generating almost 7,000 concurrents, 670,000 page views, the engagement time, and you can look at subscribers and scroll depth and everything based upon where they come in from,
Yep, that's right.
because not all traffic is the same.
That's right. Yet another interesting one is dark social, right? So I might be tracking. These are articles. I sent Eric a article via Slack, or I sent it to my mom via WhatsApp. That's how we're categorizing dark social traffic. It's been shared by peers to other peers, and these are pretty interesting because it's Friday, midday here almost, and you might want to put out a Friday newsletter. These are sort of battle tested stories that people thought enough of to share with their friends and family and colleagues. You might strongly consider these as candidates for your newsletter, and that's the type of action that I'm talking about. How can we make it really easy to get these insights and do something with them?
Right.
Another interesting thing I'll just sort of highlight as I kind of go over through these, and I won't read all of these metrics to you, but I'll highlight this one, RFV, because it's an interesting one and I think it's unique to Marfeel. It's actually coined by the Financial Times some years back, and it stands for recency. How long ago did a user visit your site? Frequency, how often do they visit? And then volume, how much content are they consuming on the site? Which we also kind of measure separately as recirculation, which isn't set up here. But basically, what that helps us do is create this loyalty funnel. And I think with some of Eric's customers, they found this really useful because it's kind of hard to do this in GA or with business intelligence type platforms to quickly see, all right, I'm going to look over the last month, this month in February, right? And I want to see what are the top stories, and more importantly, what did my most loyal users, the people that come to my site every day, or consume my content on a daily basis or near daily basis, what are they reading? And this winds up being really useful for editorial meetings. You kind of come into Monday, and it's the first week of March, and you can easily say, okay, well, here are the top stories. But what's really interesting with Marfeel is here are the top topics. And this is something that we're actually doing using AI and looking and analyzing each of your stories and trying to put them into categories. Of course, these are all in Spanish, as I mentioned, but you can see, okay, this is the most popular section in February. And you'll see the speedometer kind of coming up as I hover over it, or if you go over here, you can see this thing is kind of growing. We might want to dig into that and discuss that from a content production perspective. We can
Yeah, it's a
also
very Partido Popular is a very it's a whole political party that's
Yep.
trending right now in Spain.
Exactly. Yep. And so these are the most popular topics. Now you might say, well, we use tags and we have a whole taxonomy for that. That's fine. We can also measure that. And so if I
Hmm.
click tags, it'll sort of show me that sort of thing. We're also kind of looking at user needs here, which we've recently incorporated into the platform, which is a framework that the BBC coined, which we could probably spend a whole webinar talking about.
Yeah.
The other thing I think is useful is looking at authors, right? So who were my most successful authors, and you'll see, again, the speedometers, they're doing better than the previous 2 months in this case.
This has been really cool for some of my clients. So like so I want you to actually, if you would click on Lucas Marco
You got it.
and then filter. Yeah. So if you notice here, total subscribers 320. We can now see here's all of Lucas Marco's posts and what they've done, what they did last month, how many page views Lucas's content generated, how many users, the engagement time, how many articles he published. And then I love the fact that, okay, total subscribe, his articles were part of two subscriber journeys
Yeah.
that were in there. So this is really interesting information when you're trying to analyze. And it's not necessarily to put authors down, but it's really say, okay, what is this author doing? What is that author doing? How can I guide this author to do better engagement and the kind of content? And obviously, different authors have different beats too sometimes, so all that changes. But I thought that was very, 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 very interesting.
Yeah. No, I'm going to go back into that. I'm just going to take some of the filters off, and I'm going to go back to,
Yeah, we got
Lucas.
to remove Lucas Marco up top.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I go back to him and I took some of the filters off, actually what was interesting is so he got two people that were coming off him. Now you see it's jumped to four because I've taken the loyal and lover
Oh yeah, you took out the loyal
filters off.
readers.
So
Yeah.
now he converted some new audiences. Maybe they came in via Google Discover. To your point, maybe they saw a LinkedIn or Facebook post and clicked to his content that way. What's cool about Marfeel, and this is, I think, unlike some of the other kind of content analytics tools, is it's really easy to kind of go in here and see, okay, what specific articles we're converting. And let me go into, one of these and I'll just kind of look at it and I can actually see the user journey on this one. And I'm just kind of picking this one out of the air here, but let's see, what this looked like. How did this happen? Was this just kind of a one and done conversion, or no? It actually turns out this person came in for the first time in early February and then viewed a few different things. They came in via social, which is interesting. So I picked one of the new
Actually,
audiences.
it's reverse. Yeah, bottom is first,
Yeah, that's
touch
right.
then up.
Yeah, exactly. So we started with social, and now we're moving up. And it looks like this fellow or person consumes a lot of content via social, but also via perhaps the newsletter.
Yeah, then they count on the newsletter, and then they're looking at some things and some paid promotion, social again.
Yeah. And so this winds up being again really useful for
And
consumer,
there's the
consumption.
conversion event right there.
Yeah, that's right. That's the conversion event. So this is really cool on an individual basis, and you could use this to kind of look at, all this data is available, right? So
The one thing I want to just point out just briefly is I know I have a lot of publishers who are asking for this kind of information. What content converted subscribers? And I think what's been very, very fascinating as some of my publishers are starting to use Marfeel more and more is they're starting to realize, okay, maybe this was the piece of content that finally pushed someone over to click subscribe, but it's not a one touch. It's not a last touch attribution. It's a journey. It's sometimes months worth of engagement on different articles of different stories that finally convince that person to convert. And that's been a big eye opener for a lot of my publishers, a lot of the editors, because a lot of editors and publishers are going in there. What content do we need to create that'll drive people to become paid subscribers or to ultimately become a controlled subscriber if you're a B2B? And they're realizing it's not one piece of content. It is a continuous journey.
that's right. That's exactly right. And, we looked at a very specific use case and, specifically what Lucas converted into subscriptions. But if I wanted to look at February as the month and then go back and look at, okay, that's cool about Lucas, but what topics should we write more about? And you'll see that this Partido was very popular and very effective with 152 subscriptions being generated by that topic or what sections.
Mm.
So again, very fast and very easy to get this insight and you don't
Hmm.
need to be a data scientist to figure this out, which I feel kind of you do to get this kind of insight out of a
It
GA4.
does. Could you clear out all filters for a second?
Yeah.
And I wanted to just bring up one quick thing with the user journey over here.
Yep. Do this.
So the one thing I thought was really interesting about this
Yep.
user journey that we've set up with a couple of the publishers I'm working with now is anonymous. We don't know anything about them, but and you can customize these levels. I think
Okay.
in fact, these are different, but we wound up having four different kinds of readers that we wanted to track. So the anonymous people that we don't know anything about. Then we had what we considered email subscribers. So people who were coming to our site via our email newsletter. We could specifically bucket them. And then we had people who were paid individual subscribers, and then several of my publishers have group subscriptions. So we could then filter down the content to see, well, what kind of content are the anonymous people looking for? What kind of people are the email subscribers looking for? What kind of people are individual paid subscribers looking for? I thought that was really an interesting way to begin to filter down the kind of content that appeals to different audiences. That and this audience loyalty funnel, new, flyby, casual. Those are both some pretty big eye openers for the publishers I work with.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a great point. And I'll highlight that, we have a total subscribe focused here, but some of Eric's customers might want total newsletter signups. What content is converting to newsletter signups? That sort of thing is all very trackable and configurable as well.
There's three key metrics that we like we're working to track up here with some of my publishers. So yeah, email newsletter signups. For some of them who have paid subscriptions, it's paid subscriptions. And then the third one is we're getting into starting to track revenue. So we know how much advertising revenue dollars we're creating on our website, and we're now able to attribute that to certain pieces of content. We can say, hey, this author, right, generated this many email signups, this many paid subscriptions, and this much on-site revenue, which
That's
is
right.
fascinating.
Very easy to do that. And you can totally connect Google Ad Manager to make sure that that's all accurate and fed into Marfeel. And there's a whole view of this that's focused, on people that are interested in ad revenue. I wanted to highlight, I know, this is kind of a brief demo and it meant to be a high level overview, but I wanted to highlight a few things that are fairly new to Marfeel.
Mhm.
And I'll use this particular article as an example. You'll see it's the top performing real-time article. You'll see this graph. It's up and to the right. That's what we like to see. I can see here that it was published to Facebook. Okay, that's cool. But maybe you want to publish it to other platforms like X or LinkedIn or Threads, etc. Marfeel Amplify makes it very easy to take action from the analytics platform. So some of you might use a Sprout Social or Hootsuite or whatever. Marfeel now has this all built in where we can have your individual social handles basically tied in, or you could create groups of them. So imagine I wanted to say, okay, I want to publish this to all my handles. It's very easy to do that. And you'll see we have very practical AI built into Marfeel that can take, yes, this is from the CMS, right? So we're pulling this right from the article and from your system, but we can also create ideas for social posts. And these can be prompted. So we can create custom prompts that says, Mike has an irreverent voice. I want you to use capital blocks to talk about X, Y, and Z. And you can really give it very detailed style instructions, guidelines on length. Maybe you don't want them, you're a business publisher, you don't want any of these emojis, you could tell it all that. But this winds up being really useful in terms of, how can I, it's Friday afternoon, I don't want to pay a whole bunch of people to be scheduling tweets and LinkedIn posts all weekend. How can I automate this off hours, but then during business hours like we are today, there's breaking news. I want to quickly do that. And you'll see like this logo's here. It has a built-in Canva-esque layout. So
That's
we're
cool.
kind of taking a lot of really interesting features that have been requested by individual customers and sort of pooling them into what Marfeel Amplify. And the reason why we don't call it social is Marfeel Amplify can be used for not only distribution to Facebook and Instagram, as I mentioned, but also WhatsApp, Telegram groups, even Reddit.
Hmm. So yeah, well beyond what we sometimes with other social platforms. I haven't seen this piece before. Now, you mentioned automation of this. This is something I'm very interested with because I know that a lot of the publishers I work with, they're not huge staffs, right? We're not talking New York Times, a Wall Street Journal, Washington Post. They're very small staffs. And one of the things that they're wanting to do is say, hey, how is there a way that we can automate social distribution of content we publish to our website, and maybe not, like everything we post, that's a news article, should it go, what can Marfeel do to automate that? I'm actually asking because I've not seen this part before.
Yeah. This is the Amplify section. You'll see it's a bit different, right? So you'll see this. This is a
Right.
small travel startup publisher, and
And
they have
I want to clarify to everybody, Amplify is a separate add-on to Compass. So they are two separate pieces, but they're highly integrated with each other.
they are integrated. And I think for Eric's customers, as this one you'll see here, to get people to give people access to it, we're actually for analytics customers, we're allowing people to publish 500 posts a month across their social handles
Oh,
with
that's cool. So that's built into the
That's
Compass
built
part?
in. Yeah, I mean,
That's sweet.
many bigger publishers will publish more than that. But maybe you're a niche publisher and publish a few times a week. This is going to totally, be part of it for you.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And that these guys are in that category, right? So you'll see they publish like, once a day or so like that. And this is kind of enough for them. And the way that they have it set up, you'll see here, this is pulling in a recommendation, but there's actually a feed schedule that can be configured here. Now I can, if I wanted to schedule stuff over the weekend, I could simply drag recommendations and do it that way. But there's the concept in our system of what we call recommenders. And a recommender can be basically a bunch of different profiles, right? But it's looking at data from the site. Maybe it's most read, maybe it's latest, maybe it's trendy. And it's using that to make recommendations. And then it's basically you're giving it instructions on how often Marfeel can post to this particular social handle and time windows between posts, maximum reposts, all that sort of advanced stuff. So not only does it allow you to get stuff out there with the click of a button, it allows you to do full automation. And I was saying to Eric just before the call, like maybe you want to be on Blue Sky, but again, you just don't want to be putting in the effort to be curating those posts and right sizing the images and getting the link in bio set up for Instagram. This is all sort of very
Wow,
well
that's cool.
integrated.
This is something I'm gonna have to dive in a little bit more. I actually just slacked one of my clients saying, "Dude, we got to look at this," because I haven't dove much into the Amplify side of this yet.
It's quite powerful. And then what becomes interesting over time. So if I go back for these folks over, let's say the last 30 days, it becomes a system of record for not only we just went through the most of this call, your data, your first party data, but now this becomes the third party data platform of record, right? So I can look at without having to go into Meta Business Suite or TikTok reporting. I have all my information here on what kind of views, CTR, reach I'm getting off platform.
Yep, that's cool. That's very cool. I'm gonna have to dive into this a bit more.
Yeah.
Um, could you dive in? I know there may be something else you want to dive into here a little bit, but could you dive in a little bit into your integration for kind of site audits and site performance?
Yeah, we can. So, what we offer is sort of this core web vitals type of situation here. So what we're showing here, this website actually doing pretty well. There's not a whole lot of errors right now,
Yeah,
and
the URLs are small.
they're small. Yeah, they're not critical. If I went back to the other one, there would be a lot, but I won't call them out now. But yeah, I mean, the idea is there's always going to be some level of errors. But imagine you have a tech team, a product team that's kind of focused on performance and making sure that the content is optimized for search engines, but also now answer engines. This is something that would allow you to basically look across and see, okay, we got an error here on Google Discovery. This is affecting one of my URLs. Let me dig in on that. And I could see the diagnostic, the specific issue. And I say, okay, how do I fix that? And you can see it's impacting my Discover by this percentage. I click through this. I go to the documentation on Google. Maybe I
Hmm.
go back to my site. I make the fix, and then I'm able to validate it.
That's cool. And you also have Core Web Vitals integrated in here, I believe.
That's right. And that's here.
Awesome. So LCP, CLS, INP, the three cores.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, cool.
And then the last thing, just in the interest of time, is that I think is really useful is so we talked about your content, we talked about your content on social and other platforms. Now let's look at what's happening on other platforms that might not be my content. So I'm going to go into, actually, I'm going to go back to my friends over here. Bear with me one second. I'm going to go to United States in English, and I can see in the last 2 hours what the top performing articles in feeds of people in the US are on Google Discover. And I can see visibility and reach and that sort of thing. But I
So
could
you're monitoring Google Discover and finding what is the hottest content on Google Discover right now.
exactly. And we could do this on
Okay.
Facebook. You remember CrowdTangle? We have kind of a replacement for that as well. But for the purposes of this call, I'll just focus on Discover. The functionality is largely the same in terms of how it works. But
Could you
by the
pop
way,
into cities for me?
yeah,
And like, yeah, let's pop into like Dallas.
it's-
So now you're filtering by what are the top stories trending in Discover in the city of Dallas.
that's right. And
That
I
could be
can do
helpful
that.
for regional publishers.
Totally. And it could be Des Moines, it could be smaller cities too. I forget the number of cities, but there's hundreds, if not thousands, of individual cities that we're
Okay,
looking at.
okay. And so the goal of this is more to help editors find out here's some hot stories that are trending that you might want to look at covering. Is that the goal of this?
That's exactly it. So let's just say let's say that I was let me find something that would be okay. Let's say I'm a Texas, magazine media company, and I don't have a weather reporter on staff, but this thing is obviously getting some action, and you saw the graph. It's doing well. What you might do with Marfeel is launch our nifty Chrome plugin. And then what this is going to do is analyze the content. You could do this on your own content within the analytics platform, but you can also do it on third-party competitor content. And you might say, okay, that's interesting. What's a different angle I could take on that? And this will generate some ideas for you. It's not going to copy the article. It's not going to write it for you, but it's going to give the editor and the writer some ideas on a perspective to take. What
That's kind of cool. So we're
question?
using AI in a Chrome plugin to analyze another article, but take a different angle toward it or build upon it.
That's right.
So
Exactly.
you can build something unique and not just copy.
That's right.
Got
Yeah,
it.
you can click on any of these. What questions might I have as a reader after reading this article? And you might choose to answer that. Or in this case, I'm clicking outline structure, and this is going to actually take this and kind of run it through Google's helpfulness evaluation and give you a sense of a structure that you might use. This isn't a publish ready article, but it's giving you a framework of an article that we think that would be successful from a Google perspective if you care about that.
Hmm.
The other thing that you could do is really easily go on, into your site and find other stuff. You'll see, I'll say Calor here, they're talking about weather. If you
Yeah.
add authority on weather reporting or other weather stories, you can link to those and perhaps play that game with SEO.
Fascinating. Okay. Yeah, these are areas of the platform that I know I haven't dove into yet with my clients, but I'm interested. Now, is this a separate add-on as well?
Marfeel Monitoring is a separate add-on, but the Chrome plugin and the Copilot is included with all the plans.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know.
Yep.
Nice. Well, we're kind of hitting to the end of our time here together. Is there any other key thing that you want to talk about or bring up before we close it out?
Just that we're totally happy to let folks use the platform, and it's
Mhm.
one thing to see a Spanish publisher's data, it's another to see your own data. So if you want access, we'd be more than happy to give you free trial access for a few weeks and also walk through a more detailed dive. Maybe you were intrigued by the
Yeah.
social features, the social distribution features. We could probably spend a whole half hour, maybe even an hour, talking about that and how we can use the tone of voice manager and custom prompts to make sure that that's in your tone of voice and brand voice.
Michael, are you okay if I put your contact information along with this in the YouTube and podcast descriptions?
Definitely, no problem.
Great. I'll make sure to do that. Otherwise, go to marfeel.com and try to contact him and ask for Michael. He can definitely walk you through. He's walked through several of my publishers on this. I've been appreciative of his help. So, Michael, appreciate your time here today. This has been fantastic. I learned some new things, and like I said, just like a couple of my clients said, we need to look at this together.
That's great. Thanks, Eric. We appreciate it. So we're
Cheers. And thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week with another session and hope you have a wonderful weekend. Cheers.